Today in the video blog I'm heading to the archery shop. The bow after Greenland with all the salt water and all that really needs to be clean, disassemble everything, put new strings and all that before the fall. So I'm gonna take advantage, adjust the bow, and also share with you guys the equipment that I'm using, but not just so you guys know the equipment that I'm using or the brands, but to share my thought process behind the equipment I have chosen for the type of hunting I do, that maybe helps you guys decide what can work better for your type of hunting. So let's get to work. Pasa, chaval, ¿qué tal? So the first step, we are changing all the different bolts that are all rusted because of Greenland and the salty water. And now we're gonna disassemble the bow and try to grease it and change the strings and a bunch of other things, but it's looking really bad.
¿Y eso por qué tiene tanto roce ahí?
¿Dónde? No es roce, es mierda. Y grasa.
A bunch of the bolts were rusty. I mean, they were in good shape, but I'd rather change everything, open also the limb pockets, clean them, put new grease on them to try to remove any noises that they may appear when you don't do maintenance on your bow. At the end you will get noises and cracks, and because the grease got dry, rusty and all that. So taking everything into apart, and yeah, it's gonna look like a brand new bow. I'm cleaning the bow, first time ever in my life. It's quite an experience. So it's all beat up, and this is the reason why I shoot PSE, because some of the bolts might be rusty and there might be a lot of dirt in the bow, but after over a year it still works great, shoots great, and it has been really beat up. So they are really, really tough bows.
Sí, no. Y al... ¿no? Sí, le cogí el día que no te juntas 2 veces al año o algo. El día que no estén como estén.
Y nada más, que no tan...
Está muy cerca. 70,3.
¿Te lo subo más o no? ¿O está bien?
Las flechas estas,
Ah, mira,
4,40.
¿Bajo? ¿Cuál está? Sí.
Hay que mover para arriba y para abajo, ¿no?
¿Eh? Ese es el reposar, un poco.
right, so we have paper tuned the arrow without a burr shaft, and we got a perfect bullet hole, and this is telling us that we are on the right path. The bow is set. Now we have just to play micro adjustments on the rest, and we're gonna do the burr shaft tuning at a little bit of a longer range, like 20-25 yards, and see if that arrow without vanes flies exactly the same as the one with vanes.
Intenta no darle a la vida.
Pero está bastante bien, ¿eh? De recto.
El recto está bien.
Esto está bien.
So we are checking now. What we are testing is you remove the vanes of one of the arrows, and it's called burr shaft tuning. And what you check is how the arrow flies without any vanes on the arrow, because the vanes will stabilize the arrow and will correct the errors that the arrow may have. So you remove the vanes and see what it does. So. Okay, after a lot of trial and error and playing with the bow, we have finally tuned it. This is 30 yards burr shaft and fletch arrow, exactly on the same spot. They are going on the same angle, so that's why you look like if you are able to make an arrow without vanes fly exactly the same way as a normal arrow, is that the bow is properly tuned. What bow I'm shooting and why? So this is the PSE Evo EVL 34, so axle to axle is 34 inches. I like longer axle to axle bows because they are a little bit more stable. So for spot and stock hunting and for shooting long range, it's gonna be a more stable platform because they are longer. Shorter bows are great because they are easier to move around. So if you're hunting from a tree stand for blinds, you are hunting close range or whatever, it's always easier to have a shorter axle to axle bow to shoot with angles. But typically I look always between 33-34 inches axle to axle. What I also look for is a bow that it has good speed. For spot and stock, that speed is gonna be great because it's gonna allow you to have more room of forgiveness when you judge a yardage or something, because the arrow, the trajectory is gonna be flatter. So typically I will be looking for bows IVO between 340, 345, that will be the sweet spot, and brace height, you will get around 6 inches, that will be the typical brace height that I like. All the speed of a bow depends on the cams and how critical they are. The harder it is for a bow to draw back, the more energy that bow is gonna store, so you're gonna get more speed. Also, you can gain speed by shortening the brace height, which is the distance between the string and the grip. That way, when you release the bow, that string is gonna be pushing the arrow for a longer distance, and it's gonna be able to transmit more energy to the bow. So when you look into the bow, you have to understand really well what you look or what type of hunting you're gonna do. For me, again, spot and stock, 34 inches, I love it. 6-inch brace height, so there is a bit of balance between forgiveness and speed. 340 feet per second, the speed of this bow, and I have been shooting it for a year, and now we're gonna check some of the real speed of this, because the IVO speed is the speed that it's advertised, and it's like a reference so you can compare between bows, but the real speed will depend on the amount of weight that you put on the string, your draw length, which in my case is 29, and I'm shooting this bow at 73 pounds, so it will depend on the poundage, the draw length, and the weight of the arrow. So we're gonna check the different speeds of the arrows and share it with you guys. But this bow has been with me this whole year, and I'm having a hard time changing because I love it. Okay. Let's pull these arrows out. I mean, they cannot be more perfect. So I'm checking the peep height with the eyes closed. Look for your anchor point, and then you will have the right position. And the peep we're using, this is the total peep, it's 1/8. And the thing I like about the total peep, or what it makes it different, is by how it's designed, it will allow you a little bit of peep rotation. So even if you get a tiny bit of rotation because of the string or the peep moves a little bit, you will still get a perfect circle, and you will be able to align properly the housing of the side with the peep. And it also has the advantage that it's super dark on the inside, so you will not have any reflections. So when you have light coming from the sun from one side or the other, the perception of the peep typically changes, because one part of the peep is super bright and the other part is way darker. So your perception of the circle will move, and you will get impacts left and right. So this is why they have designed them like this, and that funnel is what it makes it super dark no matter how the light comes from. And I think it's a game changer in terms of peep. So many people don't value the peep, and they spend a lot of money on all the equipment, but this is a critical piece, because your shot is going to depend 100% on how well you align and how consistent you are aligning the peep with the housing of the side. Peep tied, and I like always to go through it and also tie a little bit of serving down and a little bit of serving up. That way it's impossible to move it up or down, and it's fixed forever. I think it's super important for hunting. We are adjusting now. We just double check both axes. The second axis you do it on a fixed position, but the third axis you need to draw the bow. So the torque of the bow, you adjust the axis considering the torque of the bow, because depending on how much torque you put to the bow, it's gonna read different. So the axes have been verified, and this is the scope that I'm using, which is the Spot-Hawk Father. What is the biggest difference that I see, or the two options that you have for scopes? You have multiple pins or a single pin. The advantage of a single pin is that it's more precise, because you can adjust the pin for a specific distance. But the huge advantage that I see of fixed pins is that you have all the pins ready. So if you draw back and the animal moves, you can adapt your yardage without letting the bow down, adjusting and all that. So I think that for spot and stock and the type of hunting that I do, I need fixed pins, and that's what I use. And the good thing about the Hawk Father is that you have the advantage of both worlds. I have 5 fixed pins that I have always ready to shoot from 30 to 70 meters. And also, if I have enough time, and only if I have time, I can adjust here the dial of the scope and adjust the middle pin, which is the most precise of the whole scope, because it's centered on the housing of the side. With that middle pin, I'm gonna be able to adjust and use it as a single pin. So if I have time, I can really adjust the distance. These ones have a dovetail, which have 2 advantages: that you can disassemble the scope from the side, which is very useful, and also you can adjust the scope, the distance from your eye, to be able to have a perfect fit between the peep and the housing. That way, when you align the scope and the peep, it's really, really precise. And actually, these Spot-Hawks come with different rings here and different colors, so when the light changes and when you are running out of daylight, the peep gets bigger, so you can still align the peep and the housing properly. So I don't know, I really like these ones, and this one compared to the Spot-Hawk that a lot of you guys use, the one I like the Father, because it has this micro adjustment. You can make here adjustment clicks, and they are very precise. So sometimes you travel to an international destination, the weather is completely different, and you just need to apply a couple of clicks to the whole housing. So that's very precise, and also it has all these numbers set, so in case the tape mess up with the rain or breaks or whatever, I always take note of the different distances in this dial, so I can take that scope to the settings, worst case scenario. So yeah, that's the scope I'm using. We're gonna now wait 4 different arrow setups and try to check at the range the difference in speed. So I'll put a chart, let's weigh them all. Okay, so we are gonna test the speed of 3 different arrows. So this will be the extreme velocity, that's the lightest setup that I have. 393. Then next in line will be the RIP TKO 420, VAP TKO 443, and this is the VAP SS that they have as steel fibers 460. Okay, let's check the speeds.
Dos nueve.
¿Bien?
Sí, sí, que tiene más sentido. Ahora estoy a una respetadón.
So we are checking the different speeds of arrows, and we have seen, of course, like the lightest one will be the fastest one. I'll put the numbers on the video, but the VAP TKO versus the SS, there is 14 grains of difference, and on the first measurement the difference in speed was only 3 feet per second. So you are gaining a lot of penetration, 14 grains of weight, which is gonna increase the penetration of the arrow, but you are barely losing speed. So we may be worth, we're gonna double check again just in case. Interesting result. So this arrow is heavier, but still we're getting basically the same speed as this one. So what it shows is that the heavier the arrow it is not just about weight, but how much energy that arrow can absorb. And the SS, it's heavier, but it can absorb more energy and it can get the same speed as the TKO. So I don't know, we're gonna have to start fletching new arrows again. Hay que volver a emplumar ahora. This is one of the coolest inventions ever. It's also from Total Pip. You put it here on your release on the handheld, and it will allow you to put the release inside the string and you grab it, but when you're stalking, it's not moving, you have it ready, you can range and ready to go. What release I'm shooting, this is the wise choice, is a back tension, a thumb activated release. So it's like it has a thumb pressure, so you have to, but you can shoot it back tension, so you will get your finger around the release, pull with your back and execute the shot. So it's a surprise, kind of a surprise release. So out of that second that I tell myself I'm ready to shoot, I start pulling, and I know in a matter of a second when that shot is gonna take place, but I'm not really sure if it's gonna be earlier on that second or later. So I have been super happy with this release for years, and I don't change. I have actually 3 to have an extra one just in case one of them drops. Regarding the arrows, I just changed my mind what I'm gonna use this fall, but the arrow I'm gonna use is the Victory VAP SS 300 spine, the Elite series, which is out of the line, the one with the tightest tolerances. Why I have changed to Victory, or why I have changed to my arrow setup, in order to shoot longer range, I have decided to shoot micro diameter, which is the smallest diameter possible, less wind drag, more penetration. The options Victory has for arrows, it's large, so I'm able to put heavier inserts on the front, so the front of center, the weight is more balanced towards the tip of the arrow. So when the arrow is in flight, it's gonna have not only more penetration, but it's also gonna that the vanes are gonna follow the tip. So against wind, I think it's gonna be better. And I also have been playing a lot with vanes, and in order to shoot with heavy winds, I have reduced the size of the vane. Originally I used to shoot the Blazer, changed to the heat vanes, 3 vanes, and now I have decided to go to the X3 vanes, which is even smaller, and fledged with 4 vanes helical to get the same amount of on this direction, so the wind has the same amount of surface. It was gonna stabilize the arrow the same way, but when you have crosswind, it has minimum surface. So for shooting in the wind, I have found out that it works great. So super happy with this setup, and the overall weight it's 400, almost 460 grains, which is a bit heavier than what I'm used to. So when I'm shooting a smaller game, I use a lighter arrow, so it has more speed, and the room of mistake when you measure a range or you have to guess a range it allows you to make bigger mistakes. It's a bit heavier for heavier game like red stacks, and so super stoked to play to use them this fall and see the results on game. Bow is set, no excuses, and now we're gonna head out to the field and try to get all the sight and the marks and all that. So we have a lot of work. First hunt next week.